addressing state and local failures to rebuild Los Angeles after wildfire disasters. And then Trump goes through how they lied, how they said they let people rebuild, how they're not letting anybody rebuild, how they've already gotten all this state and federal funding, how they're sitting on it. Then Trump gives the powers he has when they've accepted money to then come in if they misuse it. And the authorities talks about the 400,000 acres of homes and businesses. It lays out, you know, the deliberately horrible job that they've done, how they've destroyed these people, and how the federal government within weeks had approved all the rebuilding, the money, everything. But the governor declared an emergency and took control of it. So Trump is saying, no, you're not in control, and now we're going to pay the people directly. And he orders the federal agencies to do it. Trump is on the offense. I have harped on this. Many others have. It was not incompetence that burned down the Palisades. It was not incompetence that burned down Lahaina in Maui. They tried to turn it into a 15-minute city with Bill Gates running it. They voted no. They left all the brush up, left the power lines on when high wind came, denied them the water from the reservoir the month before to fill their firefighting reservoir, plenty of water there, burned it down. And I said next will be something like the Palisades because it was the next most expensive real estate other than Palm Beach in Florida. And we knew that they, for decades, the fire department said, cut the brush. They hadn't cut it in 40 years. Around the power lines. And you're supposed to cut the power to the power lines when the high winds come. They normally did that. Didn't do that in January of last year. And it goes on and on. They drained the reservoir that was built just for fire, 76 million gallons. 1 month before, said it was for repairs. There was no repairs. Now, Benny Johnson goes out there 2 weeks ago. They say on the state website and in federal filings that the reservoir is operating and full of water. It's drained. We have footage of that.
What is wrong with them? They want it to happen again. After all of this, there's nothing in the reservoir. Goodness. Goodness.
Look at that giant thing built to save people.
The houses that survived, they want them gone too.
And property. Yeah, that's it.
Crazy.
So what does it tell you that it's empty, Mike?
You know, I wish it told me something. They said they were going to fill it. They started filling it. And then, you know, the CEO of the Department of Water and Power decided to drain it again. They keep talking about drinking water. I don't know who's drinking water out of there or why they keep talking about this drinking water. That reservoir was built for one reason and one reason only: protect our community in case of a fire. And that did not happen.
Back when we had planners that built for humans. And again, BlackRock, can't make it up, 7 years before, bought the little energy co-op that all the people paid for in Maui that just serves a few towns right there. And they said, a few years before the fire, they said, we're not investing in anything carbon. We're not fixing power lines. We're not cutting brush. It's for the earth. They even said that. Knowing when the high winds finally came and the power lines fell, goodbye. Same thing with the Palisades.
The government fears Alex Jones, who has the largest audience in the country, bigger than any of the networks, the biggest megaphone in the country.
The deep state hates Alex Jones with a vengeance.
Alex Jones is the most extraordinary person I've ever met.
I got very excited when I saw this because they burned down the Palisades on purpose, set the whole thing up, and I'm finally seeing Fox News, which is a bellwether on every subject, saying, no, they deliberately want to get people killed. No, they deliberately burned down the Palisades. No, they deliberately are targeting our children with poison shots. That's Fox News, not just Jesse Waters, but other shows. That shows how mainstream the awakening's gotten. So here's the big bombshell. Trump signs executive order for feds to take over LA's nightmare wildfire rebuild in huge boost for victims. So let's just stop right there. I didn't even know that was the New York Post analysis. I got this 20 minutes before the show started, and I read the executive order, and that's what it says, and it says more. It basically federalizes almost the whole state because they've been deliberately incompetent and sabotaged every level. The reservoirs, the roads, the national parks, especially out west. The feds control the majority of the land still. And, it's bad when you got globalist feds who have, where you can't use the land or whatever, use that as a weapon. It's good when you got a patriot fed, and Trump has a plan to actually sell off most of the federal land to small stakeholders, which is a great idea, which you're supposed to do. At least sell off a lot of it. But the point is that Trump just nuked them from orbit. And I know the federal law, I know the regulations, I know the history. This is all constitutional, especially when you have the direct, admitted, total mismanagement by design. Then all these laws kick in, and Trump can just basically neuter Gavin Newsom, who has been so arrogant. So, quite frankly, I am tempted just to suspend all other coverage and cover this, because there is no way to do this properly in even 30 minutes. I mean, this is bombshell. And then you've got all these new developments in and around it that I've been kind of building up the last week that I haven't gotten to that go with this. Benny Johnson went out there a week and a half ago and went to the famous reservoir, 76 million gallons, just built above the Palisades just for fire. Back then we had governments that cared and said, yeah, you have to have this. They drained it despite no problems with it a month before. Then they lied and claimed it was filled, but won't let anybody in. People are suing to see it. Well, Benny just flew a damn drone over it. The son of a bitch is empty. And they have put in state and federal filings, it's full. When you realize the level of these crooks, folks, that's because if there's more fires, they want more to burn down. They wouldn't send fire engines that night till the next morning. That's on record. I told you they declared a 15-minute city, and he declared a state emergency and said that he's over, who can rebuild. And I told you they wouldn't let anybody rebuild. They've let no one rebuild. I think it's 6 homes that were globalist insiders who have been allowed to begin. No one else can do anything. And remember, the mayor goes, oh, no, we'll let you start next week. All lies. And they're coming in. They got rid of everybody's insurance, like the month before, half the people's insurance. This is a plan, people. And now they're going to build high-rises for illegal aliens and all the rest of it. It's going to be a smart city. I told you 2 days into it, that was the fact. And Elon Musk reposted my video about it where I predicted it all. And MSNBC attacked me. And Jen Psaki said, look how insane Jones's video and post is. And Elon Musk retweeted it. This is insane. And I lay out everything in the 4-minute video that's now happened with total precision, because it's a damn enemy formula. In fact, Rob Dew, about 2 months ago, I wanted to do a redive on this, another deep dive on there. I didn't. He created like 20 videos. But if you get him to find that in his computer, just pull that. You know what? I'll do this next hour. Okay. I don't want to like half-ass this. I mean, I have them. We have them. Okay, you have to admit, though, they're totally evil. They did it on purpose, okay? I mean, hundreds of things had to do with precision perfectly to do this, okay? Not cutting the brush, leaving the power on, lying and saying they didn't, draining the water, ordering the stand down of the fire department. When they announced the month they drained the, they do these inspections twice a year, the month they drained the reservoir, they knew the forecast coming with the high winds, and it was unusually dry. They ordered the fire departments to not test the water mains or the fire hydrants, and then they even reprimanded some of the fire stations that still tried to go out and do it, and they ordered them not to. You know why? There was no water in them. You don't just drain the reservoir, you order the fire department to not check them. And so some of the fire offices, stations went, that's weird. They went and checked them and said, hey, there's no water in these. And they got reprimanded by the fat lesbian that can barely walk upstairs, but she's a big fat Mexican, so it's okay. And remember, she said, I don't need to be able to pick up anybody. If you shouldn't be in your house, yeah, something falls on you, you're an old lady, whatever. Yeah, you don't need a fireman to come in and give me a break. They made the new fire chief in New York another ugly lesbian. Nothing against lesbians in general. It's not that I'm upset that you like women. It's that along with all your stuff comes your idiocy and your hatred and your incompetence. I mean, quite frankly, I think you shouldn't be a fire person unless you can bench press 300 pounds. And if you're a woman, you can do it, good for you. And if you can put a 250-pound man on your back and walk a mile like they make the men do, or walk upstairs with it, go ahead. But you can't do it, woman. Are there some women, a small percentage, that can do that? Yeah. And they usually got double chromosome disorders. That's not bad. That's how God made it work. There's a lot of disorders where you don't end up with Down syndrome. You end up super strong. Most of the power lifters and people in the Olympics and all that, and the top NFL people, they've all got those different chromosomal disorders where they got the double this, the double that. Yeah, they're supermen. And you got some women that got that. And they can just compete with the average male when they got the super genes. Now, a woman like that goes up against a male that's got the super genes. You can't do jack crap. And you ask why so many African blacks in America, this is an interesting fact, compared to African counterparts are so much stronger and stuff. It's true, there was slave breeding programs here in the United States. They didn't know what genetics were. They just knew that guy's really big and strong. We're going to breed him with 20 women. And, well, that guy happened to have that mutation, so boom. Now you get $40 million a year or whatever it is in the NFL. That which doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, is this is the reality. So that is coming up next hour. Trump is on the offense. I have harped on this. Many others have. It was not incompetence that burned down the Palisades. It was not incompetence that burned down Lahaina in Maui. They tried to turn it into a 15-minute city with Bill Gates running it. They voted no. They left all the brush up, left the power lines on when high wind came, denied them the water from the reservoir the month before to fill their firefighting reservoir, plenty of water there, burned it down. And I said next will be something like the Palisades because it was the next most expensive real estate other than Palm Beach in Florida. And we knew that for decades, the fire department said, cut the brush. They hadn't cut it in 40 years. Around the power lines. And you're supposed to cut the power of the power lines when the high winds come. They normally did that. Didn't do that in January of last year. And it goes on and on. They drained the reservoir that was built just for fires, 76 million gallons. 1 month before, said it was for repairs. There was no repairs. Now, Benny Johnson goes out there 2 weeks ago. They say on the state website and in federal filings that the reservoir is operating and full of water. It's drained. We have footage of that. Then they lied and said they turned the power lines off. We had the footage of them on in the fires. Then they ordered no extra engines that night to go to the fires. They ordered the fire department a month before to not test as they were supposed to do twice a year in December. They do it in July and December. All the water mains. You drive around your neighborhood, you routinely see a fire department testing a water main. You'll see a fire department guy get out, he'll turn it on, run a bunch into the ditch, close it again. They had to order them not to because they just drained the reservoir up on the mountain that was built just for those fire mains. At every level, they did an incredibly competent criminal mastermind job. This is like Ocean's 11 or something. Okay? This is Mission Impossible. I mean, they didn't overlook anything. Then they hired a bunch of 400-pound fat lesbians to run everything who literally said, if you fall down your house and you're stuck under a burning beam, I'm not going to help you. I don't need to even be able to do one push-up. I'm a fat lesbian. Remember those clips? They weren't involved. They're just useful idiots. But the communist Mayor Bass, an intelligence agent of Cuba, she admits she was. And then Trump goes out there a week after the fires and says, I want permits in 1 week. Let them rebuild. She said, of course, 1 week, we promise. Here we are a year later, and they've let 6 houses begin permitting out of 40-something thousand. They declared it a UN city. They declared an emergency, so the governor heads up a task force that does the investigation. It all flows through his office. When he talks about it, he starts doing that little dance thing he does because he's the little celebration dance. because he is a hardcore psychotic criminal and the nephew of Nancy Pelosi and their crime syndicate. He kept his fancy 5-star French restaurants open the entire time during COVID and had lavish meals, got caught on photos, no mask, but you had to stay locked in your house. Pelosi, she didn't wear a mask. She went and got her hair done. These are monsters. So I've said, Trump, you talked about them draining the reservoirs before it even happened. You know they've drained the reservoirs into the ocean so the farmers don't get the water that naturally comes down out of the sky. Federalize it. Most of that land's federal. And under the law, when you have an emergency zone and people are being denied their rights, the feds can come in. That's the federalist system. And so Trump signed an executive order today. And I read the executive order, and I said, wow, this has teeth. And it's not just about the Palisades, it's about the whole state. And then I noticed that Fox News, New York Post, they concur with their analysis. Trump signs executive order to take over LA's nightmare wildfire rebuild. But it's not just Palisades. It's all those federal lands, those federal mountains, those reservoirs that I'm going to tell you again. They drain to the ocean and do not give to the farmers. That's been going on since Obama. Some of the best growing land in the world. Nothing being grown because they want to drive the farmers out. Then they'll say, oh, it's because of a fish that lives in these reservoirs that isn't even indigenous to America. They took hundreds of thousands of acres around Austin in the early 90s for the golden cheek warbler that isn't even endangered. And after they took the land, eminent domain from all these farmers and ranchers, they turned around and took the restrictions off and built all these palatial mansions. And it all goes through Kirk Watson, the state senator, who was the mayor, who owned the bank that did the deal originally. See, I know about these things personally, watching it. That's just one case point. This is organized crime. Just like Nero burned down Rome so he could expand his palace, he got out of hand and burned down most of the city. He only wanted part of it burned down. These guys are doing that. So I want to go over this executive order that has got teeth after teeth after teeth, like razor-sharp shark teeth here. Now, Trump knows the DOJ won't do anything for him, but he can regulatorily, through the other agencies, get a lot done. And his other regulators, Bessent and Kennedy and many others, are doing what he says. And you notice he just keeps winning in federal court because what he does is so cut and dry constitutional. Every day, these Article 3 judges that have blocked him get overturned. Here's one today. Trump admin wins appeal of ICE injunction in Minnesota. Agents can defend themselves against attackers. Oh, wow. That was a hard one. And again, Trump puts out an order on the water and he says, oh, we're putting people over fish. The damn snope isn't even in North American rivers. It got put in there. People using it as a bait fish. It's an ocean fish in the Atlantic, in the Pacific, one of the most common fish in the world. It lives in salt water and fresh, and people have been fishing in those lakes with the damn snopes, and a bunch get off the hook, and then they have babies, and they go, well, we love the snope. We can't give the farms water because the snope needs it, and then they dump the water in the ocean. And then they build reservoirs just over the cities just for fires, so they're right there. Not the giant mountain reservoirs with billions of gallons, but, one with 76 million that the fire department 40 years ago said we need to be able to put out fires, and it would have worked great. But instead, when they turned on the mains, there was no water. Because, again, they said we can't pump water up into the mains. We need to have it up on a mountain, so the mains had their own water system. And the month before, they drained it and said it was for repairs, but it turned out there was no repairs. Then they said last year, oh, don't worry, we filled it back up. And 2 weeks ago, Benny Johnson flew over it with a drone. They blocked anybody, including law firms, getting on there, but we can fly a drone over. And it's drained. But in federal and state filings, it's full because they hope another fire comes because they weren't able to burn everything down. This is administrative mass murder. So before I go over the executive order, let's go to Benny Johnson first. What an incredible journalist. every day some new coup, thinking, hey, he shows a federal filing, state filing. They say they filled it up. And it's dry as a dry swimming pool. It's dry as the Sahara Desert or Death Valley. But in the filings, it's full. Think of the evil. Think of the premeditation, waiting for the next high wind, waiting to leave the power lines on again, waiting to burn down more people's houses. So Newsom would declare an emergency, take it, and issue no rebuilding permits with his crime boss, the Cuban intelligence agent, Ms. Bass. Think of the most evil thing you can think of, and then realize these people have been doing it for decades, and they love evil, and they're way more evil than you can even imagine. So whatever you can imagine, they're doing and more. Here's Benny Johnson.
So we're up here in the Palisades. The entire place just burnt to cinders. And there's a famous, we're here, of course, with Michael, who lost his house as well. And there's a famous reservoir. You can kind of see it right over our shoulders there. And you can't walk up to it. Yeah, right there. Can't walk up to it, but it was famously empty.
Can't walk up to it because the security is guarding it from...
By the way, hit pause, back it up 10 seconds. So it was really dry up until January. Right after that, you know, they had months and months and record flooding and everything else. And it turned out all the reservoirs, including that one they're supposed to artificially fill with pumps, you know, up to it. But they've left them all, like I said, open so it all drains. And the big mountain ones that are natural, they go out to the ocean. Just wanted to repeat that. Look how lush California is. It's not normally like that. Southern California. It's like a jungle right now. No water, bitch, because it's all drained to the ocean. Yeah. And farmers, you don't get nothing either. Precision raping, precision fraud, thoroughbred scamming. Sorry, go back.
Walk up to it, but it was famously
Can't
empty.
walk up to it because the security is guarding it from people trying to see that it's empty.
Well, luckily we brought our drone. Let's go ahead and find out what's in the famous Palisades reservoir that was dry during the fire that burnt everyone's house down.
That is bone dry. There's nothing in there. There's not a drop of water in the reservoir.
Built for fires.
What's wrong with them?
The designer said,
again.
You got to have it.
After all of this, there's nothing.
Hey, pause again, back it up 10 seconds. Imagine that was built 40 years ago. I looked it up. Back then, we had planners in government that was like smart. They weren't perfect. There was still some corruption, but they were like, yeah, that's all dry. You want to build up in here? We can't pump water up to these hills, so we'll just build above it a reservoir for fire only. And they drained the son of a bitch that was full of water a month before they do it. I mean, and now they lie and say it's full again. I mean, again, this is precision fraud. I bet they even claim they pumped it full of water and bought it from some company, and I bet that's a kickback too. I mean, it's just every level they just steal. Let's continue.
What is wrong with them? They want it to happen again. After all of this, there's nothing in the reservoir. Goodness.
Look at that giant thing built to save people.
The houses that survived, they want them gone too.
And properties. Yeah, that's it.
Crazy.
So what does it tell you that it's empty, Mike?
You know, I wish it told me something. They said they were going to fill it. They started filling it. And then, you know, the CEO of the Department of Water and Power decided to drain it again. They keep talking about drinking water. I don't know who's drinking water out of there or why they keep talking about this drinking water. That reservoir was built for one reason and one reason only: protect our community in case of a fire. And that did not happen.
Back when we had planners that built for humans. And again, BlackRock, can't make it up, 7 years before, bought the little energy co-op that all the people paid for in Maui that just serves a few towns right there. And they said, a few years before the fire, they said, we're not investing in anything carbon. We're not fixing power lines. We're not cutting brush. It's for the earth. They even said that. Knowing when the high winds finally came and the power lines fell, goodbye. Same thing with the Palisades. We have all the footage of that. And them saying the power lines weren't on. People sued, proved they were. We have the video of the power lines falling and satellite photos of all the fires starting. And that wasn't enough. They had Democrat operatives out setting fires everywhere as well. Good little helpers, good little demons, good demon, good gremlin. Now, here's Trump a year ago. It was almost up to the day. January last year with Bass and her lying and saying, yeah, I'll give you permits in 1 week. 6 permits have been issued as of when I checked today. Here it is.
This neighborhood rebuilt again. You mentioned a couple of things in terms of us expediting. So I signed executive directives right away so that we could cut the red tape. We could get people back building as fast as possible. And we're going to continue doing that.
Yeah, the one thing is they are saying they will not be allowed to start for 18 months.
No.
Hit pause back up 10 seconds. I'm sorry. I remember we're on 400 plus stations. I need to always, a lot of TV viewers on X will say, why are you narrating this? I can see it. We're on radio too. This is from the 24th, just 3-4 days ago. Drone footage of nothing rebuilt. Okay. And it's on record. They're given 6 permits for 40+ thousand. Burnt up structures. Businesses, homes, you name it. So, and it's on record they're doing this. But the point is, it's showing footage while Trump and her argue a year ago, almost to the day, showing she's a big fat liar. Here it is.
Building as fast as possible, and we're going to continue doing that.
Yeah, the one thing is they are saying they will not be allowed to start for 18 months.
No, that will not be the case.
Okay, I just hope
that
you're
will
right.
Not, you can hold me to it.
4 groups said that.
No.
That would be they should be able to do it. They should be able to start tonight.
Oh, that was a city order.
That will not be the case. You know, first we have to take care of.
And they said it again last week, 18 months.
Getting rid of the hazardous waste, cleaning things up so that people can start right away. And just like you said, if somebody had their house was destroyed and they're going to rebuild essentially the same, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit higher, they really shouldn't have to go through much of a process. So I want you to know that we are expediting that. We absolutely need your help. We need the federal help.
You got it. I told you. You will have no permit problem. There will be 0 delay. And as far as I'm concerned, you already have the permits.
All right, so Trump gave him a year. He revisited it. He just federalized the emergency zone, which Newsom made an emergency zone. So he had full control. But once the state does that and then botches it, now the feds can override that when he does that. So he stepped into it. So Trump has the right intentions. We'll see what the bureaucrats do. Here is Jen Psaki, a month into the fires, attacking Elon Musk for liking and reposting a report I did that will play, like an hour-long report, play a few minutes of it, predicting everything that happened. And you go watch this. It's like I had a time machine. I don't have a time machine. I'm not that smart. They're an enemy. They do what they say, like the Podesta plan with the ICE riots. I mean, please, people. They told us in Operation Lockstep, CIA, Rockefeller, Bill Gates, the whole plan, the 6 feet apart, the mask, the shot that erases your immune system. I was on national TV in 2009, saying they're going to make a virus probably in China. Then the vaccine will erase your immune system. How'd I know? It was in the documents. It's in the documents. Go to Jen Psaki. Here she is.
With these fires still burning, we are facing important questions about how to mitigate and prevent disasters like this in the future. Fact is, leaders will need to confront a very complicated and challenging reality moving forward. But right now, that is not exactly what is happening. Instead, Donald Trump and his allies are injecting half-truths, misinformation, and flat-out lies in some cases in order to score a version of political points, I suppose. So I guess none of us should have been shocked this week when Elon Musk posted that the Los Angeles Fire Department prioritized DEI over saving lives and homes. That's an exact quote. That appeared to be a disgusting dig at the city's fire chief, Kristen Crowley, who has served in the department for decades, rising through the ranks to become the first female and LGBTQ fire chief in LA's history. Musk also amplified a post this week from conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. Yes, that guy, he's still around. Alex Jones wrote that Los Angeles fires are part of a larger globalist plot to wage economic warfare and deindustrialize the United States before triggering total collapse. I mean, not sure that guy's okay. Musk responded to that post by writing, "True." Yes, just to repeat here, that's just the richest man in the world and the best friend of the incoming president confirming to his 200 million followers that he thinks the devastating wildfires are a part of a globalist plot.
And when you watch my report, I detail everything exactly as they did it because it's a formula. You know, after you've made instant pancakes 30 times, you don't need to read the back anymore. Instant pancakes. Just add water. Mix it up. Put butter on the pan. Put the pancake on. Flip it. Eat it. But I like to make them scratch. So I get the flour from Italy so it's not toxic. And then I get the egg and I get the milk and I stir it all up and I make those. And I know, see? So it's a formula. And that's how I know what they're going to do. The new amazing product is in stock. A huge case of it for an incredibly low price. The best energy shot you ever had. Totally natural, no letdown, supercharging with all the super nutrients and more. Mind Fuel. Discounted out of the gates, thealexjonesstore.com. And limited time. Every order gets a free bottle of our incredible immune-boosting formula, Atomic Defense, funding the info war and supercharging your body. And then I've launched the American Supply Companies, founded in 1776. Great t-shirts, ball caps, and more. Available at thealexjonesstore.com. Funding the Second American Revolution and vengeance against tyranny worldwide. We don't make our money robbing taxpayers or smuggling in child sex slaves. We don't make our money starting World War III. We make our money selling high-quality products that supercharge your life so we can wage war against corruption. It's important to go back in time before I hit some of this executive order that is just amazing. Trump going into federalized, not just Palisades, but much of California. Because Newsom, by declaring an emergency and doing this and mismanaging it, opens the door to Trump. The courts will try to block it. I predict they'll fail in 95% of it. This is a big deal if Trump follows through. But let's go back to January and February at the time where we laid out what was really happening last year. It's all come out and been proven true. So we get some context, then I'll get into the executive order and move on to the other stories, but this is really important. And you look at what's happening in Los Angeles right now, at every level, at every step of the way, this is not mismanagement. This is perfect administrative, economic, industrial sabotage. This is murder. This is destruction. This is scorched earth. This is siege by design. So this is a designed economic warfare system that they've been developing really since the 50s in the globalist publications and battle plans that we've made films about, written books about, covered ad nauseum here. And they call it the rewilding, the deindustrialization plan, 1992, Rio de Janeiro, the Earth Summit. They passed the Club of Rome Limits to Growth plan, and they list all the things they're going to do. Get rid of farming, most farming, get rid of fertilizer, get rid of the nuclear family, get rid of single-family homes, depopulate the planet, not create fire breaks, not touch the wilderness, including in the middle of your city, destroy dams, don't build reservoirs. It's happening everywhere. And then you are made to get all this insurance, and then magically in Lahaina, Maui, right before the fires, they pull people's insurance. Almost everybody's. Magically in the key areas of LA, pull the insurance 2 months ago. Pull the insurance. And it happens over and over again. Then you've got roving homeless everywhere, 70+ thousand, 77,000, a small percent, but it's still a big group. People love to burn things down. You've got leftists constantly getting caught. The big fires last year and the year before in Canada, caught leftist, barely makes the news. They are sabotaging your children. They're sabotaging the culture. Cloward and Piven is just one of their public strategies that describe this to collapse society. And they called for an end to industrial civilization. Type in 1992, Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit, passes resolution and treaty to end industrial civilization, post-industrial world. Just type those terms in. You'll be on the UN website. It's like you type in replacement migration, UN, and you'll be on the UN website. You don't have to believe me. Please, go look it up. So they cut the firefighters. They don't build fire breaks or clean up the brush for decades. Then there's no water to fight the fires. And it's in the key zone where they're going to have the Olympics coming up and build a, quote, smart city, just like Lahaina. And it's the same story over and over and over again.
As he's giving us an aerial perspective to the devastation in the Palisades, Sky 5 unable to fly due to a temporary flight restriction put in place because President Biden is in town. But this is an incredible view of what it looks like from above.
Yeah, we will have more in terms of an aerial perspective, we believe, tomorrow once the sun comes up and we begin to get a good measure of the level of devastation here.
It is Wednesday, January 8th, 2025, and I want to be 100% clear about what's happening in California right now. It's not like I'm going to come on the show today and blame the government of California and the Democrats and their policies just because I feel like it. We've been exposing this on my show for at least 25 years, and the different Great Reset, rewilding, post-industrial, Rio de Janeiro, UN 1992 treaty that is doing this all over the Western world by direct policies, what you saw in Lahaina a few years ago, in Maui, what you're seeing now is where, starting in the mid-90s, any leftist-controlled city, including now in Europe, got rid of thousands of years of human understanding, where even in ancient cultures, the Romans, the ancient Gauls and what's France today, the Germans, people in China did this. Africans do it around their villages. You cut the brush back for a long way around your village, around your town. You build fire breaks so that when fires come, they don't jump across and burn down your town. But starting in the mid-90s, they stopped cutting the brush and a lot more. We'll explain it all when we come back.
All right, so what are you hearing about what people are saying out there, Mike? You've done some reporting.
Well, good to be with you, Jesse. I mean, the firefighters themselves have been demoralized by what's going on. They know how to do their job, and they hadn't been allowed to do it. They should have been mobilized as early as January 3rd. They got the first warning from the National Weather Service on January 2nd. January 3rd, they got a second warning from the LA National Weather Service. Karen Bass flew to Ghana on the 3rd. The National Guard should have been called out then. They should have stationed fire engines in strategic places around Los Angeles. Jesse, there's 100 fire engines that are in the shop for repair at this moment that should have been repaired and should have been stationed around LA. They've been demoralized. Funding's been cut. They have twice as many calls per day from the fire department, half of them to put out fires by the homeless, and their staffing is down by a third. They were demoralized before this crisis. These are the people that we should be raising up and celebrating. They've just been demoralized by the terrible governance and lack of leadership at the state and local level. Yeah,
they did get almost a hurricane-type warning. You know, when you see the screen, 5 days out, it's in the Caribbean. Florida governors are able to pre-position the linemen, the sandbags, evacuate. You're saying they had a warning and they didn't pre-position anything, and 100 fire trucks were in the shop?
It's incredible. And that was part of what they needed, that $17.5 million that was cut, that was going to go, because at first you didn't quite understand what did they mean. They needed that money for mechanics. They needed the mechanics to get the engines out. You can, for $500,000, you can buy a used fire truck. The whistleblower that I spoke to was very frustrated. They said that you really should be stationing the fire trucks, get them in position before there's any fire, get those planes circling overhead to drop water and fire retardant so that you put the fires out before they can spiral out of control.
At that commission meeting, you said, it's dire, someone will die.
It's eerie listening to your words because that's what occurred. So it's, let me just take a minute, sorry. This is a woefully understaffed fire department. We either going to have...
By the way, pause for a minute. And again, we're doing some background here, but we got a newscast where they later admitted, no, they ordered the extra fire trucks once the fire started to not be sent until the next morning. So it wasn't just fire trucks were broken. It wasn't just they cut the funding for LGBT stuff or sent the equipment to Ukraine or drained the reservoir or left the power on the power lines when they fell. The whole thing. And then I said they'll now grab the property, 15-minute city, he'll declare an emergency, he'll put himself over it. It all happened. We know the fraud. We know the plan. Continue.
2025, or we're going to have a fire department that's going to reflect the 1960s.
On Monday, I held an event, a press conference, to lay out specific things that we could do to help people now, to help LA recover and rebuild, and to make sure anything on this scale doesn't happen again. With me was a retired Los Angeles firefighter. And the reason I asked for a retired firefighter was that I thought a retired person would be able to speak more freely than someone who's in the department now. And the fact that and he said exactly the same that we've just heard there and more. But the fact you've got someone in the department right now saying these things just tells you the level of rage throughout the department at the leadership. Going back to what Jonathan was reporting there, and he said that the fire chief said that she was happy with the plan in terms of letting those people go off shift. She didn't exactly say that. She said their plan, their plan, as if it's nothing to do with her. She's the chief, just like Mayor Karen Bass, yucking it up in Ghana. I mean, that is really the symbol of the incompetence and mismanagement and dereliction of duty that we've seen throughout this situation.
I don't know how she's...
And by the way, all that got investigated. The different fire stations lodged complaints saying we don't want to be off. We need to be there. This is once the fire started. Even before they hit, they didn't want to be off. She said, nope, you come on shift tomorrow. I mean, it's so sick. This is not incompetence. This is deliberate at every point. You don't just incompetent on hundreds of points, all perfectly done. Come on, people. And then I knew they'd steal the property and wouldn't let you build on it. Now here we are a year later. Here's Trump 7 years ago in his last presidency, 6 years before the fires, predicting what would happen with them draining the reservoirs. And this, now we learn deliberately. Here it is.
We're giving billions and billions of dollars for forest fires in California. There's no reason for those fires to be like they are. They're leaving them dirty. It's a disgraceful thing. Old trees are sitting there rotting and dry. And instead of cleaning it up, they don't touch them. They leave them. And we end up with these massive fires that we're paying hundreds of billions of dollars to fix. And the destruction is incredible. So I think California ought to get their act together and clean up their forests and manage their forests, because it's disgraceful. What's happening should never happen. I go all over the country and I meet with governors. The first thing they say is there's no reason for forest fires like that in California. So I say to the governor, or whoever's going to be the governor of California, you better get your act together, because California, we're just not going to continue to pay the kind of money that we're paying because of fires that should never be to the extent. They were telling me in a couple of states, I won't even mention their name, it's like a flash. Some grass will burn. It'll be over in minutes. They'll lose 2 acres, 3 acres at the most. They won't even lose that. And here we are with thousands of acres and billions of dollars every year. It's the same thing every year. And they don't want to clean up their forests because they have environmental problems in cleaning it up. It should be the opposite, because you're going to lose your forests. You're losing them. But it's costing our country hundreds of billions of dollars because of incompetence in California. So the people, I'm speaking now for the people of California, they don't want to see this happen. They're getting destroyed. And it's hurting our budgets. It's hurting our country. And they just better get their act together. I'm sorry.
Fire aid, that star-studded...
We'll go to the next clip in a moment. I'm almost done with this, but this is just a really big deal. And whether you're in Europe or anywhere in the U.S. or Australia, New Zealand that's let us run, they don't build fire breaks anymore. They don't go get the dead wood out of the forest. They just leave it all piling up like kindling, so when there's a lightning strike, it happens. And then, oh, there's no reservoir, there's no water. Oh, the equipment was sent to Ukraine. Oh, we left the electrical lines on. Oh, sorry, we're taking your property. Oh, don't worry, we'll let you rebuild a year later. Yeah, in 6 months, we'll let you talk about it. So that's a year and a half, just like the document said. Trump's like, you're saying a year and a half. Meanwhile, you're not letting people rebuild. They're taking the property. Oh, no, sir. No, we're not doing that. And so Trump has signed this executive order with all the federal funds that are held up to give to the people to go in and take control of it, to let them back into their houses, to go in and reopen the reservoirs for the farmers, everybody else, to go inspect everything, because you have organized crime going on. So this is a big executive order. I mean, it's got dozens of huge things it does. It's amazing. I'll read over some of it in a moment, but we don't want to just talk about Somalis and fraud all day. As I told you, California is way worse. The Annenberg Foundation that you see on PBS and NPR fundraising stuff, it's famous for running, just like Bono in U2 that's raised billions of dollars over the years. And the joke was less than 1% actually goes to the Africans when they raise the money. So he got in trouble for it, so now he gives 1%. So the joke is it's the One Foundation. It's actually called the One Foundation as well. Kind of like Ilhan Omar's wine that never existed, that she is a money laundering operation, is called Satan's Lies, with the devil on it, whispering in a woman's ear. Okay, the One Foundation gives 1% to charity. Well, the Annenberg Foundation stole over $100 million. The number went up after this report. And even liberals got involved and said, we thought you had this concert report for people that were burnt out. No, it's for us. So this is all money laundering, folks. Here's the report.
Fire Aid, that star-studded concert that raised $100 million for wildfire victims. But where did all that money go? Investigative journalist Sue Pascoe has been digging for answers.
A reader sent me a little note and said, I've never seen any fire aid money. How do I apply for fire aid money? And I thought, well, I've never thought about that. There's 12,000 people, basically 12,000 homes gone. Those people probably want to know where the money is. This will be an easy task to find out.
40,000 people displaced.
So I contacted the Annenberg. They never responded.
And the Annenberg is
Foundation, because they are overseeing the wildfire funds, yes. So I emailed them several times. They never responded. I called them several times. They never responded. And finally, it was like almost 2 weeks later, a woman got back to me and she said, oh, I'm sorry for the delay. The person you need to speak to is Chris Wallace. He's a media spokesperson for wildfire funds. So I contacted Chris and I said, victims want to know when they can get their money. Seems like a very simple question. Mm-hmm. He said, basically, they don't. All this money are going to nonprofits, and then nonprofits will take care of making sure the money's distributed. So I looked at initially they gave $50 million to about 120 nonprofits. And I looked at these nonprofits, and one of them said, we help mobile home parks. And there were 2 mobile home parks in the Palisades, all low income. Mm-hmm. And so I contacted the people there. They had never received any money. They had never heard of that. When you go through, I would urge everyone to just go to the nonprofits that are listed if you want a good laugh. I mean, one of the nonprofits cleans preschool bathrooms. Well, after the fire, who knows? Maybe there is a preschool bathroom that needs cleaning.
Yeah. In other words, a lot of these nonprofits are ancillary, if you will.
That's a nice way of saying it.
Now, I just ran into this clip today because Mike Benz has been exposing, and I've harped on Bono and YouTube for 30 years. They've been a UN money laundering front with the CIA, MI6. So here's George W. Bush recently with Bono making a joke about how he came right out of the CIA, and then that ties into the Somalis in USA that Bono was first involved bringing over. Go ahead and play 21 and 22 and 23 back-to-back. I mean, this is so educational. Here it is.
Actually, Bono, it's the work we began, and the truth of the matter is it never would have made it out of Congress had you not been engaged. So the first time I met you, you knew more statistics. I mean, you're coming right out of the CIA. One of these analysts.
It's the first time anyone's ever said that, but I thank you.
Well,
Bono links up with Jeffrey Sachs in the 90s and actually a little bit before that, doing this international development work. Now, Bono, of course, is U2. He's the front man. He's this international sex symbol at the time and, giant selling out stadiums. He did these big kind of USAID fundraiser concerts, Band Aid and Live Aid. The BBC later reported that of the $100 million raised for hunger relief in Somalia at Band Aid, 95 million of it went to CIA-backed warlords to buy guns. So this is like another one of these things where you think you're raising public awareness. Oh, there's a hunger problem in Somalia. But there's also a civil war where you've got the CIA taking sides in that civil war, and these groups need weapons.
In many cases, food from relief flights is being looted upon landing. Food convoys have been hijacked, aid workers assaulted, ships with food have been subject to artillery attacks that prevented them from docking. Imagine 7,000 tons of food aid literally bursting out of a warehouse on a dock in Mogadishu, while Somalis starve less than a kilometer away because relief workers cannot run the gauntlet of armed gangs roving the city. Confronted with these conditions, relief groups called for outside troops to provide security so they could feed people.
All right, let's stop there. He goes into USAID and funding it and why they did it. The point is, it's all CIA. They were helping Ilhan Omar's dad and grandfather that were running all the mass murder, but they failed and got kicked out. So they brought them over here and still used them as bagmen, just like they did in the early 90s. Figure it out yet? But you understand now, like the Somali thing, and they admit in these clips and documents, was set up to launder money for the CIA. They then bring over the ruling party that you think of as the Somalis, that are this inbred, insane group of slavers that won't even talk to the other Somalis or blacks. And they believe they're gods, and they're all inbred, look like space aliens. And they're just pure, solid mega criminals. And I'm not saying everyone that's come over here has continued that, but I mean, this is like the Legion of Doom. It's like MS-13 or something, or the Nazis. And they're bad. And so they are the key bagmen put in all these key cities to carry these operations out. And you have Bono, and you have the CIA, and you have Bush Sr., and you have it tied into Jeffrey Epstein and that airline he ran secretly with Lex Wexner. Day one with the airline was getting weapons to Somalia and Somalis back to Ohio first. And then the towns in Ohio got upset, so they said, okay, send them to Minnesota. So you want to know where all this came from, where the Somalis come from? The CIA. And they just set them up now as their same operatives, just like USAID is laundering money to run clandestine operations. Most of the money the Somalis get, they don't keep. They get a nice slice. It goes on for all the other operations you see. And so that's why it's so hard to take down. And that's why the DOJ won't do anything like they wouldn't do anything to Jeffrey Epstein, because he's CIA, Mossad, and MI6. Pretty incredible information, isn't it? And then Bono's, Bush is like, oh, you're CIA. Oh, never heard that before. When they hired him to run this, get idiots' money to then run clandestine operations. The new amazing product is in stock. A huge case of it for an incredibly low price. The best energy shot you ever had. Totally natural, no letdown, supercharging with all the super nutrients and more. Mind Fuel. Discounted out of the gates, thealexjonesstore.com. And limited time. Every order gets a free bottle of our incredible immune-boosting formula, Atomic Defense. Funding the info war and supercharging your body. And then I've launched the American Supply Company, founded in 1776. Great t-shirts, ball caps, and more. Available at thealexjonesstore.com. Funding the Second American Revolution and vengeance against tyranny worldwide. We don't make our money robbing taxpayers or smuggling in child sex slaves. We don't make our money starting World War III. We make our money selling high-quality products that supercharge your life so we can wage war against corruption. All right, here's what I'm going to do. Some stations don't carry this first five, as you know, and I absolutely do not want to get to this executive order that I just reread again. Wow. Talk about dropping a hydrogen bomb on the Democrats. I mean, wait until you see what is in this. And even the corporate media hasn't read over this properly yet or hasn't gotten it yet. because, I mean, this is going to audit the Democrats. It takes over most control. It gives direct federal funds that the Democrats are stealing that would go to the state to the people. It's just fabulous beyond belief. And under the FEMA emergency powers, Trump can do every damn bit of it. These powers were all meant to enslave us. Now it's blocking the Democrats. I mean, that's how this stuff works. That gun kicks as hard as it shoots is what they say. Well, the world's a two-way street. Wowzers. Absolutely wowzers. I am just so excited. Now, they also had hundreds of people arrested starting fires during it. They're good little Democrats that, quote, F America, down with America, you know, just have that attitude, and they're little helpers. I want to play clip 9. And then clip 8, they donated most of the equipment to the Ukraine. And then we also have the clip 6, the DEI fire chief. Let's play those, go to break, and come back with the big news.
Overnight, we had several other arrests. It brings it up to a total of 34 in our geographic area. We have 30 in the Eaton fire area, and we have 4 in the Palisades area. Last night specifically, again, for LA County Sheriff's jurisdiction, we arrested 4. 2 were for curfew violations. 2 were arrested for 1 drone incident. To my knowledge, we have now had 2 specific drone incidents that have resulted in 3 arrests. So as I talk to our community again, if you do not have business in the evacuation areas, do not go there. Please, you're infringing upon the work that our first responders need to attend to. And I do want to say, when I talk about these arrests, I want to clarify not all of them are for burglary or looting or for curfew violations. But it is very important when I say stay out, we are arresting people who are not supposed to be there, who do not live there, who are in possession of narcotics. We've arrested several with guns. And yeah, I'm going to tell you something. If our deputies being very proactive in these areas, stopping people in a constitutional manner as always, making sure that they're supposed to be there, and you have narcotics on you and you have a gun on you, in police work, we call that a clue. Something's wrong there. So that's why we're arresting people.
The LA County Fire Department, the LA City Fire Department, and the Air National Guard have collaborated to send some of their surplus equipment to the war-torn country. It's part of a nationwide effort among agencies across the U.S. The donated supplies include hoses, nozzles, helmets, body armor, and more.
Period. Did the city of Los Angeles fail you and your department and our city? It's my job to stand up as a chief and exactly say, justifiably, what the fire department needs to operate to meet the demands of the community. Did they fail you? That is our job, and I tell you, that's why I'm here. So let's get us what we need so our firefighters can do their jobs. Did they fail you? Yes.
All right, we're going to go to break, and I'm going to try to read over this executive order quickly, but it is spectacular. I mean, if I just, and I happen to know the federal laws and regulations on a bunch of this all has teeth. I mean, this is exactly what we needed. So no, Trump is not on defense. He's not retreating. He's on offense everywhere. But when they run into issues and traps, they just simply reorganize. That is not a retreat. That is simply a reconfiguration on the battlefield. We'll be right back. Stay with us. So Trump has taken the gloves off. A year later, they didn't let him rebuild. Only 6 houses have gotten permits. They say 11,000, we're like 15,000 houses and businesses, 40-plus thousand people affected. It's the most expensive real estate in the world. Newsom has stolen the federal funds that have been given out so far. He's declared an emergency. They stood down. They let the fires happen. They drained the reservoir, which they claim is full now and isn't. I mean, this is wild. But now the executive order. And it's 6 pages long. And I suggest you go read it at whitehouse.gov. But I could do 30 minutes on each piece. So I'm going to try to move quickly here. addressing state and local failures to rebuild Los Angeles after wildfire disasters. And then Trump goes through how they lied, how they said they let people rebuild, how they're not letting anybody rebuild, how they've already gotten all this state and federal funding, how they're sitting on it. Then Trump gives the powers he has when they've accepted money to then come in if they misuse it. And the authorities talks about the 400,000 acres of homes and businesses. It lays out, the deliberately horrible job that they've done, how they've destroyed these people, and how the federal government within weeks had approved all the rebuilding, the money, everything. But the governor declared an emergency and took control of it. So Trump is saying, no, you're not in control, and now we're going to pay the people directly. And he orders the federal agencies to do it. Goes into all the relief claims they approved within the first month. Just like Trump said, he got on them and got it done. And the elected leaders, he says, have refused to allow any of the money that the people have to be used to build. And they say there's just not even minimum action, of course. He calls it a tragic failure of the state of California. It's in the city of Los Angeles, so it's on purpose. But it also goes into the state, the reservoirs, the national parks, all of it. Says it's over. We're not letting you do this. In furtherance, a year later, they say, of the presidential declaration of major disaster for the state of California, which they already declared, FEMA F856DR, immediate and decisive federal action is required to ensure that federal disaster assistance is delivered and utilized swiftly, effectively, and without obstruction by the state and local governments to accomplish the process for which it was allocated. So he said they gave him a year, folks, as well as to support the American people who have been devastated by the Pacific Palisades and Eaton Canyon wildfires. Section 2, policy. In the policy of my administration, the federally funded reconstruction projects for homes and businesses in the wildfire-impacted neighborhoods of the Pacific Palisades and Eaton Canyon area proceed with maximum speed consistent with the public safety, and that federal assistance not be frustrated by unnecessary, duplicative, or obstructive permitting requirements that prevent families and businesses from rebuilding. At the end, he explains he's overriding them. So he's like, listen, you don't get to sit on this and not let anybody ever rebuild and then openly say we're not letting you rebuild so Newsom's buddies can come build high-rises. You're not doing it. Like Trump signed that order last week saying homes are for families and humans, not for BlackRock. Section 3. Preempting state permitting obstacles. The Secretary of Homeland Security, acting through the Administrator of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and Administrator of the Small Business Administration, shall each consider promulgating regulations to advance the policies of this order. And particularly the Administrator of the SBA and the Secretary through the administration of FEMA shall consider promulgating regulations that. And it goes into overriding all of the enemy. Section 1. Preempt state and local permitting processes. That means bye-bye, blocking them. I love it. And other similar pre-approval requirements. Now they're going to call it a federal power grab in a police state, letting people go back and build their houses. I love it. Oh, they'll have leftists protesting and burning stuff down. Preempting state and local permitting processes, preempting them, and other similar pre-approval requirements that each agency has found to have unduly impeded the timely use of federal emergency relief funds by homeowners, businesses, and houses of worship in rebuilding such structures following a disaster. And 2, and again, the state has agreements with the feds on all this. That's why this can't be stopped because it's all completely kosher. Number 2, replace preemptive state or local permitting regimes, I like that, or other similar pre-approved requirements with a requirement that builders self-certify to a federal designee, because the Democrats won't certify them, no matter how certified they are, from each agency that they have complied with all applicable substantive state and local health and safety standards, which California has. Unless you're a big developer, you can't build. Trump's just overriding that. With respect to the structure proposed to be rebuilt using federal emergency relief funds. And that means if you're getting any funds, that overrides the Democrats. The Secretary, through this is Part B, the administrator of FEMA and the administrator of the SBA shall each publish proposed regulations under subsection of this section, if any, within 30 days of the date of this order, and final regulations within 90 days of the date of this order. Each agency head shall further consider whether notice and comment is necessary under USC 553 or any other statute. And again, I could paraphrase this, but I'm tempted to read it all because it goes on for page after page. C, the secretary, through the administrator of FEMA, shall continue to review all repairs and construction activities conducted under the order for compliance with applicable health, safety, and other substantive standards. So he's taking over the health departments. He's just saying you're not involved. You're a bunch of global scum. Section 4, expediting federal response. The federal government has already taken action to expedite administrative process related to water delivery, as detailed in Executive Order 14181 on January 24, 2025. Saying stop draining the reservoirs. Emergency measures to provide water resources in California and improve disaster response in certain areas. And that goes on later. He's federalizing, and most of it's already federal, the dams, the federal right-of-ways that deliver it, the pipes, the reservoirs, and then they lie and say the reservoirs are full, but they drain them on purpose, as we just showed earlier last hour. And this is really good. So provide water. In addition, the heads of the relevant executive departments and agencies shall seek to use all authorities available under federal environmental, historic preservation, natural resource laws, and other similar laws, including the National Environmental Protection Act, the Endangered Species Act, and the National Historic Preservation Act. He's taking all the stuff they use to block development and say, oh, we're in charge of that now. He's taking all the power away. To expedite waivers, permits, reviews, consultants' approvals with respect to homes. Oh, you just go to the feds now. And they'll just designate, everybody can get permitted, it's already certified, and then they'll say, you're now federally designated. Businesses or other such structures proposed to be rebuilt using federal emergency relief funds that are required to facilitate federal response and recovery actions that will advance the policy of the order consistent with the applicable law. The heads of relevant agencies shall take steps to ensure that the process for evaluating and issuing such waivers, permits, reviews, consultations, and approvals shall be limited to the minimum scope and duration required to expeditiously advance the policy of this order and implement individual assistance and hazard mitigation grant programs while ensuring public health and safety. He's federalizing the state, folks. You go, oh my God, that's tyranny. It's under globalist CHICOM control with Count Dracula 10.0, Patrick Bateman, Kendall. They flooded us with 40 million illegals, total lawlessness. What do you think cleaning that up looks like? Oh, they're going to call this Hitler too. Oh, you're not going to drain the dam water and drain the reservoirs and send it out to the ocean. Oh God, he's Hitler. The heads of relevant agencies shall each designate, and you can say, well, God, if the feds take control of the resources, they'll deny them to us. It's already been done. But it's not feds, it's globalists, which were feds. The heads of relevant agencies shall each designate a senior official from their agency to ensure timely execution of these actions without delay. Within 90 days of the date of the order, the Secretary, through the Administrator of FEMA, the Administrator of SBA, in consultation with the Assistant of the President of Domestic Policy and the White House Director of Legislative Affairs, shall submit to the President through the Director of the Office of Management and Budget legislative proposals that enable FEMA and SBA to address situations in both states and local governments are not enabling timely recovery after disasters, including through appropriate regulation. 6 homes were given permits a year later. They promised they wouldn't do that. Section 6, accountability for use of taxpayer dollars. Oh, they're going to audit all the state agencies that already got money. The health departments, all of them. The $3 billion. I mean, this is just unbelievable. This is so good. And it gives them all deadlines. Within 30 days of the completion of the audit, that's auditing the state, described in subsection A of this section, the Secretary, the Administrator of FEMA, shall make administrative determinations in light of the audit's findings, recommendations, and shall enforce such determinations where appropriate, including future grant conditions, initiating recoupment of recovery actions in accordance with the applicable law and deploying oversight and technical assistance to expedite the administration and use of HMGP funds for individuals. He'll get them. Army Corps engineers involved. Watch, that's coming. Families and small businesses to implement in order Section 7 general provisions, noting this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect. And it goes on. They implement that, Newsom's going to prison. Because all the rats are going to leave the sinking ship. They're stealing hundreds of billions of dollars of infrastructure with their move. And Trump's like, we're cutting all the red tape. We're going to give you all the permits, rebuild, do whatever you want. And Newsom's like, no, we were going to build all these shopping malls and these mega centers and these giant high rises. And no. And Trump's like, you ain't doing that. If you can go buy somebody's property and you want to do it, you can do it, but they don't want to do that. They're not letting them rebuild. And now Newsom's saying, I'll pay you what I want for it. And he's the big boss of it all. And Trump's like, no, I'm the boss. And I'm going to give people their property back. And a lot of people have already gotten federal funds. They can't spend it because they can't use it. Absolutely unbelievably good. So no, Trump's not in retreat. Trump is on the offense. The question is, does he have enough good people that are willing to implement what he's saying in his administration? And in many of the federal agencies, he's got his people in and they're doing a really good job. I mean, look at Kennedy. It make your head spin to even try to keep track of how good he is. It's like godsend. That alone right there. Thank God we got Trump in. But this is just beautiful. Now, this new product is incredible. It's from our sponsor, Bigley, at thealexjonesstore.com. Optimal Human. You love the green powder super nutrient, the very best out there. Well, this is Optimal Human Nootropic called Mind Fuel. Introducing Mind Fuel, a super healthy, super strong energy nootropic adaptogen, which doesn't make you sick, doesn't have a letdown. It is incredible. Not just a few of the bottles. Look how many bottles are in there. And I only drink about half a bottle a day. It's so strong. Well, look at that right there, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what comes in each box of this. And it is simply amazing. Optimal Human Nootropic Mind Fuel is here. This clean, caffeine-free energy shot is designed for clear thinking, steady focus, and zero compromise. It's time to abandon sugary energy drinks and stimulant-heavy formulas in favor of clean, functional, nootropic-based energy. 0 calories, sugar-free, no crash, no blood sugar spike. Can be used daily without any guilt. Caffeine-free formula, smooth, clean energy, ideal for caffeine-sensitive users and late-day use. It's also got all these other incredible compounds like citicoline, alpha GPC, GABA, supports mental clarity and focus. It appeals to both biohackers and holistic consumers. High-quality electrolytes and B vitamins. More than a brain shot, true functional fuel. Optimal Human Nootropic Mind Fuel, that's the name of the product, isn't just another energy product. It's a smarter alternative for consumers who demand clarity, control, and clean performance without compromise. Get 25% off for life when you become a subscriber. Cancel anytime for free. Get Mind Fuel now at thealexjonesstore.com. And if you've never tried the original superfood greens, Optimal Human, you really want to get this as well. It's the best green food I've ever had at thealexjonesstore.com. The widest selection of Patriot apparel, all sorts of cool collectible knives and more. And that's what funds us, and that's what does this. And I really appreciate your support because I can't do it without you. So I want to commend and thank the listeners. But just like I steered you right on gold and silver 2.5 years ago, I got out of the market before that. I said, now's the time. I was totally right. Just like I steer you right on politics. These products are incredible. Get our Ultramethylene Blue. It is the best in the market. Our Shilajit is the best. Our Irish Sea Moss is the best. Our turmeric is the strongest. Ultimate Turmeric. TheAlexJonesStore.com. You are missing out. You don't get it. I want to thank those that have supported. I want to challenge those that haven't. What are you waiting for?
Ultimate Power. The drink that turns you into a beast, with power beyond your imagination.
Well, it's not like that, but it's pretty close.